I was gonna ask, do I have time to go give me something to drink? Can I just want I just thought about having a cold beverage. We got coasters right here.
Go ahead.
Never mind.
No, go ahead. I mean, we haven't started, but now that halfway through, you're like.
But your legs are so much longer than mine.
So you weren't asking if you could go get a drink.
No, that was an afterthought. Can you get me a drink?
What would you like? Hi, my beautiful.
Hi, my baby.
I want to welcome y'all to the first episode of A Couple Conversations with Nate and Shay.
Yes. We got a couple things on our mind, a couple things to say. This is our first one. Did you say that already?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. This is our first one. I'm not nervous. It's just that I want it to be good because I've had so many people, and I know you have too, babe, that, you know, say to us, you guys need to do a podcast, or, you know, we need to be like therapists in some way. And really we are. Because, I mean, I guess it's the wisdom of the Most High. That's what I say.
Yes.
And just life experiences, things that we didn't do so good. And some things we did all right.
We did the ultimate learn through our mistakes.
Mm-hmm. I would say that for sure learn from my mistakes. As a matter of fact, I will say this. Years ago, I was having a conversation with our oldest son, Patrick. And he said to me, and I just felt like this was one of the biggest compliments I think I've ever gotten in my adult life. Was when he told me, he said, Mom, one thing about you, you will never repeat the same, mistake. He was like, you always learn from your mistakes. And it just made me feel so good.
Right.
Because it made me feel like the thing, and we know, like as parents, you know that your kids pay attention to you. You're their model. Mm-hmm. Like they focus on what you do, how you talk, how you move, how you think, and things like that. And of course, they're going to have their own ideals, and they're going to have their own personalities or whatever. But everything that your child get from, especially from a mother, from nutrients on up, they get from you.
Right.
So I always wanted to be a good example. So to do that and him pick up on it and see that in me, like that really, really, I was blessed by that. I was really blessed by that.
I agree. So, going with the topic of today's conversation, I want to start with a question posed to you. All right? So, in the beginning of our relationship, look at that smile.
Young love.
What value did us not engaging in relations have on our relationship?
Well, first and foremost, I feel like the biggest thing was the vow that I gave to Yah. That I wanted him, like I had already determined in my mind whoever I would have been with. That was just like my core behavior. Like I was like, this is the thing that I have not tried, that I need to try. And here's the thing, if it don't work out, I feel good not having given myself to somebody before marriage.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So like
creating more soul ties.
Right, soul ties. And for those of y'all that don't know what soul ties are, and if this is your first time hearing it, it's a thing. It's a real thing.
Very, very real.
When you have, and I don't know if this is like, put a PDA out there for like, if you have young children in the room or whatever, we are talking about relations.
PSA.
Right? Yeah, PSA. I said PDA.
Right.
No, PSA, if you have small children in the room, you might want to have them to exit. Not that it's going to get explicit in any way, but If you don't want them to hear about the word beginning in S and ending in X, then you might want to send them out of the room. But
We're going to Sussex, Italy?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That part. Anyway, you know, when you engage in sexual intercourse, the way that, in my belief, or this way my understanding is set up, the way that the Most High showed me is that women are receivers, men are givers, right? It actually goes to the way that our bodies were created, right? So to me, and in the Bible it talks about it's better to marry than to burn.
Right.
So then it makes you, or me, I'm gonna say for me, it made me really kind of dig in and find out what exactly that meant. So my understanding is that you shouldn't be having sex before marriage. Here's the thing, because sex consummates
A marriage.
So, I mean, that's the most simplistic way that I can explain it. When if you look it up, and like times of old, the proof that the marriage was made whole was the act of intercourse.
Right. And also, the marriage back then was 3 parts.
Right.
They had the announcement that they were together.
Mm-hmm.
They had a feast.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had the consummation.
Yeah, the consummation.
So, if you think in today's times,
mm-hmm.
people are like, oh, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend.
Right.
We go out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Then we do that under the eyes of the Most High. Guess what?
Y'all hitched. But look, this the thing too. What I think a lot of people kind of like threw into the back of their mind and not really taking a lot of stock in I guess just societal things. It's just like, oh yeah, you know, when you have a virgin, right? Mm-hmm. There is a such thing called her hymen, mm-hmm. right? And that is basically saying that area has been is pure. It has not been touched. And one of the ways that the bride could signify her,
the doctor would check her hymen.
The doctor would check her hymen, and in some cultures they would take and preserve the part of the marital bed that hymen was exposed. Again, we got small kids in the room. I'm gonna say exit stage left. I'm saying that because that is a thing. It was culturally, in some cultures, they preserved the section of the bed where that young woman's hymen had been exposed, and it would be logged. It would be documented, right? So that she couldn't go to another town or, you know, a neighboring town and be
public
like,
record.
you know what I mean, and left her husband or whatever. It was public record, and she couldn't be like, oh yeah, I'm still a virgin. No, you're not, ma'am. You know what I'm saying? So it is just a lot of different things and a lot of different ways that they documented those necessary steps that had to be taken, right, you know, for like consummation of marriage and everything like that. Now, I already know people gonna be like, but y'all got a blended family. So you was hunching before y'all got together, right? To me, and obviously my husband, it didn't matter because there was a vow that we gave to the Most High. And in my mind, it was a renewed thing for me.
Right.
That was a vow that I gave to Yah to say, listen, you know, not to give y'all my whole prayer because I'm not Sierra. I ain't giving nobody my prayer. But I gave Yah my vow to say that if he blessed the next union that he gave me or that he allowed me to have, that was going to be the prerequisite.
Right.
Under no circumstances was I going to have premarital relations, period. Right? And then two, when I said that, when I made that vow to myself, it was like, I want to know my husband. Like, I want to know this person who I'm going to give myself to. I had a list, and the people who really know me personally know that the list that I had, he is everything on my list. Like, everything. The funny part about it is, because, I mean, we just going to address...
The elephant in the room?
You're not an elephant, number one. Let's be clear. I didn't put on there, and it wasn't necessary for me, but the thing that I didn't put on there, you know how some women write a list, and I want to be tall, dark, and handsome. I left skin color out of it.
She left handsome off.
So to me, anyway, to me, it was like, y'all got a sense of humor.
Right.
Like, he literally was like, oh, okay, cool. And she left that part out good, because that's what I got for her. You know what I'm saying? It was funny. And but that was the thing. I wanted him to love y'all. Not just know him, not just fear him, but love him. Good family man. You know what I mean? I wanted him to love kids. I wanted him to be a great provider. Smart, you know what I mean? Hard working. I mean, I had a list, right? But I said he has got to be not only trustworthy, but somebody that would have to understand where I am in my relationship with y'all. And that I had no
there was no wavering on
there was no wavering on me saying no. Now, was times hard? Yes.
Yes. Look at her. Times, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Times was hard.
Difficult? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Testing? Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
we stayed the course, though.
Yes,
we stayed the course.
It was tough.
It was tough.
In my opinion is that, well, multiple things. The biggest thing to me is that didn't allow mixed feelings,
Mm-hmm.
because flesh feelings and brain feelings and heart feelings are all different,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And without the flesh feelings being wrapped up in it,
Mm-hmm.
we had more conversation. We were like school kids. Like,
Yes.
we would be on the phone till 3-4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But we talked about everything. Her wants and must-haves, and my wants and must-haves are don't likes and what I'm not going to deal with.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of what we have been through in the past that we weren't going to deal with no more. But all that had time to be laid out because our feelings, flesh feelings, hadn't gotten involved. Yes, as they said, at times we're difficult. At times. Because you get used to living in a certain way.
Right.
But the other thing I want to add is to the men and to the women out there. Women, like, I'm a firm believer now that when she told me that was her stipulation, that made me want her more as a person, because she valued herself enough to be like, hey, I'm not. So it made me chasing harder after her. And I'm just to the men out there, if she giving it up easy, you ask yourself, who else is she giving it up easy
That's
to?
right. My baby said he don't ride the public bus. He don't sit on the public, what'd you say, baby? Park bench or whatever.
I don't ride the public bus.
I will say this. We didn't put ourselves in situations where we were going to be tested knowingly. And I'll give you an example. We did group activities with the children. Like, I remember Christian's birthday was coming up, and he was like, what, 6, 7? He was a young lad, and the house that we were living in at the time, the kitchen was this pumpkin orange, y'all. Like, when I say it was the ugliest shade of orange I ever seen, okay?
Ugly.
And I had asked the landlord, I said, listen, do you have a problem with me painting this kitchen? He said, absolutely not. Just, don't paint a wild color, which I was like, it was already painted a wild color.
Right.
So what you talking about? But anyway, Nate was courting me, and I remember us having to stay up late painting that kitchen to get ready for the birthday party that we were having for Christian that following, I guess, that weekend. This man, y'all, let me tell y'all, his work schedule was hectic. I remember you being at work at 8 o'clock in the morning before the store opened and being there till 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then he would come over to my house and spend time with me and the kids, and then drive all the way, which at the time was about 35 minutes from the city that I lived in to the city he lived in. And so that particular night when he came over and I was painting the kitchen, he wanted to help me. Obviously, this is my boo thing, okay? He wanted to be helpful. So we were painting the kitchen and it got late. So it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, babe, there is no way. Because that next day was the weekend. And I don't know if you were off or you had taken a day off. I'm not sure. And I remember, I'm like, no, babe, you're not going to drive home. Because, y'all forbid something happened to him. Because he's staying to help me paint the kitchen. Like, it would have been crazy. But I was like, no, you can sleep in the room with the boys. Y'all can, make a pallet on the floor or sleep in the living room. We can all sleep in the living room. I think we all slept in the living room that night. Yeah. We had air mattresses, and I think I slept on the couch, and all the kids was on the floor, and Nate was on the floor, and we just had like a little slumber party or whatever. And first of all, ain't no man ever done that for me, period. I don't know that it was any opportunity for them to, but no man has ever done that. That number 2. The fact that he took that opportunity to spend time with the kids, that like, I was like, wow, like this is crazy. But it's always some drama. It's always some nosy old biddies that
not happy with their life.
Hey, you ain't happy with your life, so you want to be worried about me and mine. But yeah, I got a phone call that next day. My mom and my dad called me. It was like, daughter, we gotta talk to you. And I'm just like, okay. And they were like, yeah, so what's up with the dude's truck being parked in your driveway all night?
They would forget, and they'd call me the rent-to-own guy.
The rent-to-own dude, right? And I'm like, are you serious right now? Now, here's the thing, y'all. I lived literally like maybe 4 minutes from my parents at that time in that house.
And that's if you drove slow.
That's if you drove slow. And stopped at all the stop signs. Not a rolling stop, but like, a legit stop. 2
stop signs away.
I'm like, first of all, at any point in time, they used to drive past my house every day, several times a day. Like, if I was going to do something, why would I, like...
One, we'd have went to my place that was 35 minutes away.
Hello? Anywho, that wasn't a thing, but y'all get what we say. So, they were like, we got a phone call that a dude's truck was parked over your house the whole night. I'm like, yeah. Me, him, and the kids stayed up painting the kitchen for, whatever. And he helped, and I was not about to have him drive home in the wee hours of the morning after working 16 hours a day. Like, that's crazy. I'm not doing that. And so there began, I think that was after that conversation we had, that's when
Well, but after that, then I didn't. Was it that conversation I had to have go with your father at the church?
Yeah.
Well, then right after that's when we got married.
Yeah, because think about it. Okay, y'all, let me tell y'all about our timeline right quick. Because it's very, very relative, okay? We met in August.
Mhm.
Start talking in September.
Mhm. First date.
First date was in October.
Mhm.
Got engaged in November. Got married in December. Like woo woo to us, because our anniversary is coming up literally next week. And so if we were prepping for Christian's birthday, that was literally a week or so prior to us getting engaged. You know what I mean? Like formally engaged. Because I will say this, from all the many nights of phone conversations and giggling and 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and going to sleep on the phone, waking up on the phone and all that kind of stuff, we already knew that we wanted to marry each other. We already knew that we were going to be together. We knew that. The engagement and the marriage was a formality because we already knew. But it had to do, it was everything, it had everything to do with the commitment that we had to the Most High first, our honesty and transparency with each other, right? The vow that we took that we didn't break. Because let me tell y'all something. There, to me, is nothing worse than a person who makes a promise and don't keep it. Like, when you put your mouth out there to speak something and say a vow, or you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you know, it is kind of like, it is one of the biggest character flaws of a person.
Right.
That you would do that. You know what I mean? Because
and from a relationship standpoint, if you know you got someone that be like, "Oh, I'm not about that," right? They'd be like, "I don't do that until I'm married." But then after a few slick words, you giving up the draws.
Right.
Now the respect is gone.
Again, going back to that night that we all slept in the living room and stuff like that. That was the most purest situation. It was so fun.
It was
so much love in that room, huh?
But besides that, I don't think that was the next day you got the call, because that's what started because she was a customer of my store.
That's right.
And
so it was like about a week in between, maybe.
Right.
Okay.
Because, you know, I try to do stuff by the books, right? By that time, I was like, we're going to be together. I'm like, she can't be one of my customers. So, but, you know, at the time, she was basically a single mom. So there's stuff she had to have. And eventually, I was like, you got to turn that in because you can't be a customer. So I would give her the stuff out of my house, out of my apartment.
Yep, that's right.
And eventually, pretty much my whole apartment was at her house.
It sure was.
So, like, it came to a point where I was there pretty much every night because I had ended up giving her my bed because she was renting a bed. That couldn't be. So, I was literally, me and Patrick would sleep on the couch and I slept on the air mattress in the living room.
In the living room. Sure.
Every night until we finally got that phone call and they're like,
that is exactly right, baby. Your memory is better than you say it is.
Well, that was a very, you know.
It was a very challenging time.
But I can honestly tell you from my experience in life that if you had gave up the cookies too soon and not held to, like, no, that's where I stand.
Yeah.
Then I don't believe y'all would have blessed us with these 13, 12 years.
Listen, I thought that I had scared him off. So, and this is crazy because I've never been so emphatic about something, just so strong and standing in my beliefs about something. And usually, because I used to be a people pleaser, it would be very hard for me to assert myself and say, hey, this is what I like, or this is what I don't like, or this is what I'll do, and this is what I won't do. You know what I mean? I had no problem whatsoever. Like, we ain't doing it. We're not doing it. I told him, I said, listen, you know, we talked about the Most High. And I remember saying to him, you know, asking him about his beliefs on marriage and children. And, you know, he's a single dad and I'm a single mom. And I was just like, you know, well, in my belief, excuse me, in the way that I'm set up from now in the foreseeable future, I don't plan on giving myself to a man until he's my husband. And he just got really quiet.
Because I wasn't used to hearing that.
He just got really quiet, and I was like, oh, well, you know, at least I know now. You know what I'm saying? But, and when we had that conversation, let me just back up a little bit. When I first met him, I had no understanding, intention, whatever you want to call it, of us being together. When I first saw him, he looked so mean, y'all. Like,
She thought that on Friday nights I put a little white hood on.
I did. I ain't gonna lie. I thought that this man, cause I was with my mom, and we were going out looking for furniture. You know, and when I left my last relationship, I walked away with nothing but my car and my babies. That was it. And so when I came to, I had my, you know, my little house or whatever, my cute little house, and I didn't have anything. I went and I bought probably the cheapest set of metal bunk beds that I could find for the boys.
They were cheap.
They were horrible. And then they didn't come with mattresses. I thought that they came with mattresses. And so when they were getting ready to after they delivered the bunk beds, my mom was like, well, we gotta go get the baby some mattresses. And I'm like, okay, but I don't have cash money to go and be, you know, dropping another $300 or $400 on some mattresses. You know, I was like, I don't have it. I hadn't started my job yet. I had enough savings to where I could get stuff turned on in the house, pay rent up for a few months, you know, the necessities, food, so on and so forth. And I remember going inside of this rent-to-own place, because my mom was like, I had never heard of that chain of rent-to-own places. All I had ever heard of was like Aaron's and Rent-A-Center. That was it. And she was like, I'm gonna take you by here. They got some decent stuff in there. I'm like, okay. So we go in there, we looking around, and I'm just, you know, penny pinching, count my pennies or whatever. We walked in, and my mom goes right to the counter. Meanwhile, I'm walking through the showroom, like looking around. And I hear her laughing with him. And I walk over to my mom. I'm like, you know, what's going on? And she just heard they standing there talking mess to each other. Well, I'm from here. Well, I'm from there. La, 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 you know. And I'm just like, can we go? You know, I was uninterested. When I was walking up and I was looking at him, I was like, here's this white guy. You know, his hair was... All right, anyway, y'all, we having some technical difficulties with the Canon. But anyway, so... and I just remember he was just kind of had this really stern look on his face. And I was just like, So me and my mom turned around and walked out of the store. And my mom was like, that man like you. And I'm like, what? She was like, he like you. And she was just like, and I seen the picture of his baby on his phone. He like you. And I was like, Mom, where you even get that from? And so mamas be knowing. We be knowing. I discounted what she said. I did. And so, on we went. Okay. A week or so later, or not even a week or so, it was like a few days later.
Because you told me you needed mattress.
Right. A week or so later, no, that weekend we were having a yard sale at the church, and I had baked all this stuff. Like
I gave you the mattresses before the yard sale.
Yeah, that's what you just said, didn't it?
No, I said you told me you needed mattresses.
So I told him I needed mattresses. He told me he would let me know. I ended up coming back in the store. I was just like, do you have mattresses or whatever? He said, I have some. I will give you. And I said, how much are they? He was like, I'm going to give them to you. And I was like, for how much? He was like,
give.
I'm going to give them to you. One is used and one is practically brand new. And I was like, oh. And I was so overcome with like joy, because y'all gotta understand, don't nobody give you stuff. You know what I mean? Well, at least not me. Nobody really like be like, oh yeah, here's your
without knowing they want something
right, something in return or whatever. And I hugged them, just being emotional. I remember having a lump in my throat. I was like, I was like, thank you, Father, because I didn't have the money. And I hugged him, and he was just kind of standing there like,
got to keep it professional.
Okay. And I was like, most awkward exchange I ever seen in my life. And I'm just like, okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I just kind of walked out. And then when I get to the car, I'm like basically cussing myself out like, you so stupid. Why would you hug him? He don't like you. He racist. He may not be racist, or maybe he just a mean person. But like, why would you hug him? Why would you do that? Why would you show him affection? He don't want you. He don't like you. So I'm cussing myself out. So anyway, I leave out of the store. I'm feeling good, but then kind of feeling like, hey, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So that following weekend, we had the yard sale. That's when I baked all the muffins and cookies and all kind of stuff. And I had them in a cute little basket. And I had them in like the little cellophane wrappers and stuff, because I was selling them. And I had like probably 3 or 4 of them baskets full. And I got down to like one basket that was left. And keep in mind, when you bake that much, you already probably have some set back at the house. So I didn't want to take the basket home anyway. But I was like, oh, well, the kids will have snacks for the next whatever, because I got all this left. And I got in the car, y'all, and no lie, I heard a still small voice say, take him these muffins. Mind you, I've been outside all day. I had been up for baking all night. It was probably about 7 o'clock in the morning when we got there and set up. By the time we got off, got done with all of the baking and stuff, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock that afternoon. No, it wasn't that late.
It was
like 2. Yeah, 2, like 2 or 3. And I'm like, I am not taking this stuff to him. I've been sweating. I got on a lime green sweatsuit, y'all.
She was still cute.
No, she wasn't.
Yes, she was.
I had been sweating. It was hot. I was irritated. I was just ready to go home, get in the shower, and chill out for the rest of the day. So I was like, no, I'm not taking this to him. I'm not going that way. Because to go to his job
was the opposite direction of your house.
Right, opposite direction of the house. So literally home, shop. And I'm like, I'm not. So I take off. I get in the car. I go down the street. I'm getting ready to make the left-hand turn to go home. And one of his shop trucks, I don't know where this truck came from, because I'm a pretty safe driver. So I'm looking left, I'm looking right before I turn out on the main road. And one of his trucks just came and kind of like cut me off from making the left-hand turn. Scared the crap out of me. And I'm like, I'm shaking up. And again, take him the baked goods. I'm like, okay. So I take a right. I go there. I'm cussing in my head. I'm like, he probably ain't even there. I'm getting ready to go up here. And by the way, the men that worked with him, they was for the streets. I'm going to leave it at that. So every time any woman, not just me, any woman would come in there like just, and I just hated going in there. You know, like as a woman, like it's like walking in a barber shop full of men. Like anyway. So I was already in my mind about that, like, oh, I don't want to go in here. They're looking at me and be asking me stupid questions and all. So I get to the shop, I park the car, I get out the car, I walk into the shop, and guess what?
I'm there.
What were you doing there?
I'm eating.
Sitting.
Just finished up eating Subway.
No, he was eating Burger King.
Burger King.
He was sitting at the table, finishing up his lunch, and I had dessert.
Just me and one of the coworkers.
Thank goodness. So I walked in, and I was like, hey, not trying to be cute, not trying to be endearing, none of that. Hey, I got something for you. He looking at me like, what? You got something for me? I'm like, yeah, I'll be right back. So I turn around, I go back out to the car, I get this basket of baked goods, and I bring it back. And he's standing there looking at me like, is this for me? And I'm like, yes, I want to say thank you for the mattresses. He took the basket out of my hand and set it on the table, and he hugged me.
Like hug.
And I was like, oh my God.
Y'all men out there know that when you give a real hug in front of another man, you know what that means. You know what that means.
What you mean? What that mean, babe?
Marking my territory. Better back the hell up. But like, oh, she brought me food. Guess what? This one mine.
He called me before I got back to the house and left me a message. I had a Google voicemail thing set up. And when I got back to the house, I had 2 messages from you. You don't remember that? Mm-mm. He called me.
I remember calling you, but I don't remember.
He called me to say thank you and that him and his coworkers enjoyed all the baked goods and stuff. And then he called me back and he was just like, I want to know. He was like, I don't do this. But I want to know if I could take you out to lunch. And I was like, he was like, call me back at this number.
We talked for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is spanning over several months now.
Not several months.
Yes, because I met you in August, right? Yeah, it was like mid-August or whatever.
Yeah.
But like it was several weeks before the whole
because you had to go out of
thing.
town too. You went out of town in between there.
Right. That was the first time I went to Vegas.
Mm-mm.
Or Orlando. Yeah. But like that was over several months. Mm-hmm. So like when she finally said that she would go out to eat with me, we had a lunch date at the Mexican restaurant.
Matahala.
And we both had taco salads.
Yeah.
Hers was better than mine. Mine was just a little runny. The flavor was good, but it was a little runny.
He prayed with me. He prayed with me at lunch. Prayed. And I knew right then and there, I was like, oh yeah, this is my husband. I knew it.
And now 13, 12 years later.
13, 12 years later. Y'all, the math don't be math.
Funny story. We've been telling everybody that this is our 13th anniversary. And then Mom and Pop posted about their anniversary.
And we was like, how is they married?
Right. And like the math wasn't mathing for us. And then we realized we were
like, what year we get married? And we were like, oh, snap.
So we were saying it was 13 this year, but it's actually only 12. It's only 12. It's been It's a lovely ride.
It has been.
And as we tell each other, I wouldn't want to do it with nobody else.
Nobody else.
But
been blessed.
As our first episode, y'all, I don't know how this is our first one, so we're learning.
Yeah.
But I know this is going to go up, and put in the comments stuff like relationship questions that y'all have.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying we're experts, but 13, 12 years in, we've experienced quite a bit.
Been through a lot. Been through a ton.
Yeah.
And if we haven't been through it, we have witnessed other people going through it. And I think through prayer and just seeking the Most High, we've been able to even help people go through stuff that we haven't gone through.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you don't never know. I just know that I feel like this has been a blessing. Doing this podcast, this is something that we really, really are excited about, and I feel like this is just a part of kind of like our ministry in a way, to help people.
And if we receive the support from y'all, we would like to do this once a week. Just sit down and us talk. There's a lot of stuff that we talk about as a loving couple that we believe everybody should be in on.
For sure.
Not everything.
We've had a lot of people that we've talked to, like one-on-one, that said, man, y'all, you really need to put this out there. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do the podcast. Not because we feel like we know everything, but
just to share what we do know.
The stuff that we do know, and the stuff that we have encountered over the years. It's got to help somebody. You know what I mean? It's got to. I mean, I'm talking about from like being a differently melanated couple to having a blended family. You know what I mean?
To the loss of a child.
To loss of a baby.
To loss of job.
Right.
Like we've experienced a lot.
Yeah.
And guess what? As the song says, we're still standing.
I know, yeah.
But, well, my thought is if we spend an hour a week to put this together for y'all, and it helps one person, one couple, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth it. Because then that one couple can take the knowledge they've earned and help somebody else.
That's right.
Then, our society ain't getting no better.
Yeah.
We become selfish. And we're not selfish. I mean,
and you know what, too? I find that some of the information that people are giving out there is just so jacked up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been hearing a lot of crazy stuff, especially lately. You know what I mean? And it's just somebody needs to come out and say the truth. Somebody need to come out and be transparent and be real. I'm not talking about the way that pop culture makes the younger generations look at certain things. I'm even talking about from a biblical perspective. You know what I mean? Because understand this. If we come to y'all and we giving you any type of information, know that we've gone and consulted y'all about it.
Right.
That's something you can write a check and cash it on. Like, we going to go to the Most High and consult him before we open our mouths about anything. So when we said about the soul ties, when we talked about keeping yourself and not and abstaining from sex before you're married, that is a blessing unto y'all. We're not telling y'all to do anything that's going to make your walk with y'all be wrong or put you in a bad spot with the Most High, right? So know that whatever information that we bring to y'all is fortified by the word, period. And so I think that that's the difference between what we say as far as like on a podcast and just having fun and having just a really good, cool conversation. That's the difference between us and then somebody that you might see on TikTok that's just spouting rhetoric and foolishness with no type of backing whatsoever. You know what I mean? So just be careful about who y'all take information from, period. Anyway, you know.
And you know, our information might not be for everybody.
No, we ain't everybody.
You know what? Like I said, I mean, if it helps one person, but the thing is, like anyone that's anywhere in our vicinity that see how we operate, you know, we're genuine people. Like we're not gonna get on here and give advice that we don't take.
Right.
We're not gonna get on here and fabricate stories to make ourselves sound better.
No.
Like to me, all that is more work than what it needs to be.
Well, that's in the world though. You know what I mean? Like we don't want to be. We're in the world, but not of the world. You know what I mean? I don't want to be where y'all get enough of that. Right. On Instagram and any Facebook social media and anything else. You know what I mean? This to me, ideally, I would want this to be a safe space. You know what I mean? Like, it's not therapy, but it may be therapy for somebody. This is therapy for us, believe it or not. You know what I mean? Just because it's fortifying, and I know him sitting here listening to me dote on him and love on him and just reminisce on, you know, when we were courting. I know that does his soul good. That ain't the reason why I say it. I say it because I feel that way. Right. I believe it. You know what I mean? But it could be therapy for us. I mean, there'll be some segments that's gonna be a little bit more emotional. You know what I mean? But again, if it helps one person, like Babe said, it's worth it. Right. It's worth it.
So, if you've got value out of this, drop a comment wherever it comes up. Tell us your thoughts. We'd love to hear your feedback. Mm-hmm. Topics that you want to hear discussed. Yeah. Just let us know.
Right.
But I guess that's about what we got for today.
That's it, y'all.
And we love y'all. As we say on our main videos, Shalom. Y'all.